Hey guys, and welcome back to the Shade Report. So today we're going to talk about a new statement by the South Korean government on what would qualify BTS to finally get that military exemption. And I'll also let you in on a little bit of a kind of a vlog I went on because there were some requests for me to go on a little mini adventure through Seoul and show you things. So I found a way to get an $8 massage. And I want to show you why this very popular men's body wash in Korea has proven that we've already had inflation for years and whether it's worth it or not. All that coming right up. Okay, BTS, whether they're going to be able to get exempted from their military service or not, has been on the docket and a matter of serious government debate and public debate for years. When it got really serious was in the year 2020. In September 2020, that's when BTS got #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart with Dynamite, and very soon afterwards, in December of 2020, Korean lawmakers were like, yeah, let's pass a bill to try to get BTS exempted because they are contributing so much to South Korea. Now, the thing is, by law, men in South Korea from 18 to 28 have to serve for about 2 years under mandatory military service. The people who can get an exemption so far are sports players who have received awards or honors, like mainly like Olympic level athletes, or classical musicians. And that also includes like, piano, kind of opera, and also Korean traditional music that, has a very significant impact on the world in terms of Korea's image. But today, pop stars are not included in that at all. So what they did do in December of 2020 was at least allow pop stars to delay their military service if they are deemed qualified. So in this case, BTS was allowed to delay, but now we are coming up on Jin's 30th birthday at the end of this year, so it looks like if this debate does not resolve itself, then he's going to have to go to the military. So today we had an announcement by our new cultural minister, and what did he say? It all comes down to public opinion. What? So the new Culture, Sports and Tourism Minister Park Po-kyun said in his first meeting with reporters, since he took office back in May, now they're finally talking about it, said that, okay, yes, BTS has increased the world's awareness of Korean culture and greatly improved Korea's brand image. But at the same time, military service is a sacred duty. But then he also said we should strike a balance of pure art fields and pop culture. So obviously right now you can see that there is a really big gray zone. The way that it can be decisive is only when the National Assembly, our version of Congress, passes a bill, essentially makes a law to exempt a certain person. So before the recent June elections, there was a proposal to just make a law for BTS, but it did not work. It did not go through. And most likely people were probably scared that it was going to tip the election one way or the other because public opinion is still divided on the issue. So the presidential candidates probably did not want to take some sort of a risk by pissing off the voter base, and in a very, very tight election, those votes probably counted, so then they probably just kicked it down the road. And here we are right now, and there's pressure for the government to respond. President Yoon Suk-yeol responded very recently saying that, oh, well, it's not appropriate for me to make my stance or opinion before the public. Before basically, like, what he's saying in my mind is like, until it's safe for me to do so either way, he's not going to, spend any political capital on this. And I guess he's just kind of kicked it now over to the culture minister to be the face of the government to decide. So the vague standard that we have is essentially, it's a system that gives military service exemption to people who have enhanced the national status based on their excellent skills, and they want to give, and this is the double speak or euphemism, they want to give these talented individuals more opportunities to contribute to the country, which is basically taking time away from, their military service in order to continue to serve the country in whatever amazing thing that they're doing. And the predecessor to the current culture minister said that there's no reason that popular art culture individuals should not be included in this. Now, the argument on the other side is that there should be no exemptions whatsoever. And how can you actually decide how much of a value there is? Like, where is the standard? So somebody was saying like, well, how many weeks on the Hot 100 Billboard chart do they have to be on? Or how much money do they have to contribute to the South Korean economy? Or is it even monetary? Or is it intangible? You see, you get into all of these gray zones. Now, of course, part of the reason that sports stars and musicians, especially pop stars, don't want to go to the military, especially in the years of 18 to 28, is that it is prime years of their career. These aren't careers that can go until like you're 70. And so taking those 2 years out would be quite traumatic. And so that is true, but then it's also traumatic for even if you aren't a pop star, even if you do have a career that could go to 70, but nothing is for sure. There are no real careers that are lifelong anymore anyway. And so it is a tricky situation to start exempting people, because then the list will only grow. Everybody can make a contribution, and what is the scale? Of course, it's almost laughable in the sense of just thinking about BTS. Of course, if you're contributing like $5 billion a year to Korea's economy every year, and you have more clout to represent the continent and even Asian Americans within America than anybody else, of course, these are people that have extreme talent, ability, and influence and positive impact for South Korea. So the problem is that there's no real clear policy, there's no real clear plan. It's just a feeling and it's just a sentiment, and the lawmakers, the president, everybody in power have made it clear that they're willing to just go off a feeling by the public and not do their job and create policy that people will then feel comfortable with. So that, I think, is their failure. You can't just say like, oh, it's just going to be up to public sentiment, because there will always be both sides of the issue and some people who are upset and people who will support, but that does not solve the fundamental issue of like, then the next case that comes up, it's just going to be all about public sentiment once again. The biggest issue with this is that this military exemption is being offered as like a reward, as an escape, like as something that is so valuable that everybody would like to have. And I found that quite ironic when I first came to Korea, because when I first came into the Korean workplace, I saw that people were kind of taking pride in their military service. And I thought, oh wow, so this is probably some really positive life experience that they are really valuing, and even kind of like bragging about, saying like, okay, like you don't have it because, you know, you're from America. But then I quickly learned that this is something traumatic that they went through, and they're angry that other people don't have to go through this. And they were just trying to, like, in that moment, like there are moments when guys will kind of reminisce and kind of like kind of look at kind of the comradeship and like as if you're like alumni out of something. But overall the sentiment is like, why the heck did I have to do that? It takes out, at that time, I think it was more close to 3 years. So they've reduced the amount of time that you have to serve, but it still is like a huge chunk that is taken out of your life, and you have to do it all at once. Now, I always wondered why you actually have to do it all at once. If you have to serve over a 10-year period, 18 to 28, how about this? Why don't you do it in 3-month blocks, and you can choose within reason when to go in and out as if it's like sabbatical. So 3 months here, 3 months there. Maybe it's like 3 months before you go to college, and then maybe like while you're in college, do another 3 months, and then start working. And then let's say like you're gonna transition to another job after 2 years of working, do another 3 months. And let's say like you were working for 3 years, and then you're just like, ugh, I hate this job, like I need a break, I'm in conflicts with my boss. Go to the military, chill out over there. Because what I heard is that the basic training part is the most intensive part, where you actually learn something, and then the rest of the part you're kind of like doing nothing. And idle hands do the devil's dirty work. And I think that perhaps you have all these bored men, young men who haven't really developed their character, then being bored, bullying other people, just getting to all sorts of mischief. And I've never seen really anybody come out of there feeling like they are really patriotic. In fact, I kind of get the sense that they kind of want to burn the country down because they're so bitter that they had to do it. That's totally the opposite of what you want. And I've never seen any dude that kind of like goes in and then comes out like G.I. Joe, like kind of like John Cena, all pumped up and like, you know, knows how to, you know, handle like any kind of military tactical situation. So I don't know if there really is a huge value in like just doing it all continuously, because if you break it up in certain points, I think you are then pressured to learn something in each 3-month block and brush up on what you may have forgotten, and then learn something and then get out. Also, I think it increases the likelihood that there's less of a time for any kind of like cliques or bullying kind of like to develop, and increases the contact points with you and your loved ones, so that you're not kind of like lost in a system, and that people are just so like, you know, disconnected from you in real life that then weird things happen, and you know that nobody can really do anything about it. Also, I think during these, like after these 3-month episodes, I think you should probably get some sort of reward. You should probably get, you know, either the pay that they're proposing on increasing, or maybe even like housing credit, you know, coupons, or like, and then at the end of the full 2-year service, you get maybe like a bonus that goes towards housing. I think housing is something that most people probably could all universally appreciate and look forward to or need, because I think that is the big thing that they think is kind of like where they're at a disadvantage because of going into the military. So that might be a solution. I'm just throwing it out there because I know that I've heard personally that the military is a little bit not up to date. It's a little bit backwards. And right now we have smart systems and stuff. Like, I'm sure we can kind of like track manpower this way and professionalize the military a little bit more. And it definitely has to go in that direction, because South Korea eventually wants to take operational control in any kind of wartime situation. You know, like if there is any kind of war happening on the Korean Peninsula, the United States military is the one that calls the shots. What kind of, most countries, would not have that happen, but here in Korea, it's just like, yes, please, because our military, it'd be better if you drive the car right now. But eventually, that makes no sense. South Koreans have to drive the car of their own military, and I think measures like these to bring more respect to the military and not make it like kind of like a summer, like what they're managing right now is like a summer camp of people who don't want to be there. And that, I think, it was kind of like a morale drainer on the entire organization. So should BTS be exempted? I think you should just be one and done, exempt them, get it over with, and then focus on trying to make a system where people want to go in, they can't wait to go in, and then perhaps make no exemptions. Okay, so this morning I just woke up, like my body like normally does not have aches and pains, but it just had this horrible upper shoulder ache. And I was like, what the heck? I'm about to die. And I was just like, I don't want to spend like $100 on a massage and like have somebody I don't know touching me. And I don't have like $1,000 to $10,000 for a body massage chair. And those things are huge. I don't have space for it. But by the way, BTS like has done a lot of ads for it, but they are quite amazing. And I was like, I have heard that there are cafes, like mini little cafes. I don't know if you can actually even call them cafes, but places where like some enterprising person will maybe get like 10 of these massage chairs and then rent them by the hour. So about like 10,000 won will get you about an hour's worth. So I was like, okay, I need to go find one of these places. Let's take a field trip. I found one in Hongdae and I was like, all right, let's go, because I've tried these before in waiting rooms and they're not always like the best quality. I wasn't expecting the best quality at this place either, because like some of these fancy ones have zero gravity where like the thing actually moves you into kind of like a totally like laying down position. Some of them even have like, they say brain massagers, and I thought that was ridiculous. But after, especially in light of the video that we just had before about Korean people just like being mentally exhausted because of just trying to jump through all the hoops of not trying to get slapped for saying the wrong thing, I think it makes sense. But I found this place. It was kind of cool to see, and you could see like you go up and you pay at a kiosk and you can choose to have a drink or not, like a coffee. So there is like somewhat of a cafe element. And I wanted to go into the room where like there was like stars and like galaxies projected, but I guess that was only for 2 people. So he put me into like a single like person's place. And it's cool. You take off your shoes, you put on like plastic booties, and then he kind of like puts down the curtain, and then there you go. Now, during the first half, I was like, okay, I'm just trying to get into it, just trying to see like how this machine works. And I think like the machines have like each machine is a little bit different. And although he said it was all the same, but this machine was not really focusing on my upper shoulders. And so I thought, okay, maybe that's the setting. What was good about it is that I think the manufacturer of this particular model did the most R&D in the foot massage, because it actually felt like somebody's palms, somebody's fingers, like kind of grabbing and massaging and even doing like strange kind of like, manipulations from all sides of the feet. I was like, okay, that's great and wonderful, but what about my upper shoulder? The machine, it was like basically kind of like telling me like, oh we'll get there. But the weird thing, you guys, this machine had a total butt fixation. Like, it would not get off of my ass. Like, it was massaging my ass like it wanted to go to dinner afterward. Like, I don't know what it was doing, like lingering there for so long when, you know, I wanted it to go up my back and go to my upper shoulders. And it does make sense. Like, I know that if you have lower back problems, you actually have to loosen muscles like on your butt cheeks, because the muscles are attached from your butt to your lower back. So the lower back pain has to be also resolved by like loosening up the muscle that's like connected to like a muscle in your butt cheek. So I know that like theoretically I think so, okay, but it was just like pop, 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 pop. Like it was having a really good time with my butt. And then so the setting was for half an hour each. So then the guy came back and, you know, was resetting it for half an hour. I was like, okay, can you please have the machine go towards like my upper back and shoulders? And he said, yeah, okay. So he set it. This machine, either he was playing with me and he really wanted like for me to have that kind of a massage, or this machine just can't listen, or that's just not their specialty. This, I swear to God, this machine's specialty must be the bote. So if you, because I guess that makes sense. If you really want an intensive, like concentrated lower back muscle resolution that involves a lot of booty kind of like massage, and you don't want a person to do it, this would be the perfect machine. But I was like, I did not come here for this. I came here for it over here. Thank you very much. You know, you're doing a good job down there, but I need it up here. Now, did it help overall? I would say it still did. And I think it resolved it like maybe about like 50%. And so maybe it also helps because, you know, overall circulation and whatnot. And so I went by myself, but, you know, like, I guess he does such a good job with my booty massage. You know, like I went and had like Vietnamese noodles, like, you know, across the way in the next building. And so it was a very interesting little trip. So just a little tip out there, like, number one, if you don't want to spend a lot, like, you know, sometimes when you come traveling you get really tired and you want a massage, but maybe you don't really want a person to do the massage, then you can go find these cafes and then just spend an hour in one of these machines. And number two, if you really are kind of very curious about these machines and want to try different ones out, or just you know, get a sense of, you know, how they work, this is a great way to see like the kind of the quirks and like whether it fits, because I think like the roller was a little bit too wide up here, so it just kind of like just brushed me up there. I'm just like, okay, and then it just immediately went back down. I was just like, okay, now I know what you want. So I was just like, interesting. So try that out, and that was like only 10,000 won, which is about $8 to $10 depending on the exchange rate when you come here. Okay, let's talk about this body wash. If you've been here in Korea, or if you visited Korea, you've probably seen this and you're just like, why is this like $20? Why? I didn't buy this. This was like kind of like a free trial gift or something like that. And you know, it's almost empty. I've tried it. I was like, there is nothing special about this unless it's meant to be. I'm trying to look at the marketing. The only reason why I would believe it, but I didn't feel it, was that it comes from a pharmaceutical company, and it's a Japanese pharmaceutical company, and it's called Otsuka Pharmaceutical. So it's not even a Korean company, but they have a lot of market share in Korea. And this particular packaging, I think, is done by the Korean subsidiary. And they like to tout how effective they are, especially with, you know, exfoliation and getting rid of like kind of like manly grime, but also being kind of natural, not having like so much of kind of like a chemical nature, especially if it's being absorbed into your skin. Okay, maybe I can buy that. Especially, I didn't know the same company makes Pocari Sweat. If you haven't had Pocari Sweat, that sounds a little bit disgusting because, yeah, it is essentially Gatorade of Korea, but it's not a Korean. It's also from Japan that has become very popular in Korea and the Korean subsidiary. So it's almost become kind of like part of like a Korean product, but it's definitely a Japanese product. And it's supposed to be an ion drink that replenishes your electrolytes that you lose through sweat. So it's literally saying you're drinking like lemon flavored sweat, but I prefer it actually to Gatorade. Anyhow, so this has been like so expensive for years, okay? So I think this is just goes to show that, you know, we in Korea have been living with inflation for years. After the global financial crisis, I would say inflation went up like probably like double in all like consumer goods. Double, like within 5 years. And so, but not a lot of people were talking about it because I think they were still in the mindset of like more expensive is quality that we can trust, because up until like the mid 2000s, that was still a very apropos operating principle, because there was a lot of still counterfeit stuff in Korea and you can get sick. You know, if you bought if something was too cheap, it was probably like counterfeit or made poorly. And so people just kept thinking like more expensive means it's better, you can trust the quality because maybe they don't have to cheat you on the ingredients because they're making enough money. Anyhow, so is this worth it? Let's see. Ugh. Okay, so it doesn't even, they're like, oh, we have a very neutral smell or pleasant smell. It kind of even, it just smells like liquid hand soap that has no smell but is still a little artificial. So yeah, and they say you can use this on your face. So I would say basically it's sort of like a Cetaphil that would lather. So if you do put some lathering agents on Cetaphil, I think you get this. And it's not so bad, but I don't know if it's worth the price. But then at the same time, now that I'm like using this now here, I would only recommend it if you are sensitive, because I know sometimes the body wash, like they can make it with a lot of chemicals and you kind of like are overwhelmed with like the artificialness, and it does absorb into your skin and you don't know if like it's all good for you. This one feels like it might not be as bad, but I would check the ingredient list if you're really interested. They do sell it on Amazon. I'll leave a link below. I've always been like, you know, don't buy this, it's not worth it. But I don't know. I'm willing to give it a second chance. Maybe. Alright guys, what do you think? Do you think BTS should get its military exemption? And if so, the way to do it is basically through the National Assembly by passing a law, and they will only pass a law if public opinion overwhelmingly says that we should do it. So if you guys are overseas fans, you guys should speak up and try to get Korean people here to acknowledge that public opinion should be on the side of a military exemption, if that's what you think. Alright guys, put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Love you.